Wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
As Christians, we all believe in life after death. At least most of us should. The Bible talks quite a bit about it. But how many of us have actually seen it or experienced it? We see sensationalistic stories. Every couple months seems like somebody sees something. But what about something real for once? That'd be nice, right? Well, with me in studio, once again, is my lovely, beautiful wife, Christina Peck. How are you?
Hi, sweetie. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. I think this is going to be one of my favorite episodes, and probably I think a lot of the audience is going to be able to relate.
Some of them might remember part of the story.
Yeah. You did tell, when we first moved here, you did tell a little bit about this in
2016.
Yeah. I was trying to remember if it was a network program or if it was one of the web exclusives. I think it was an actual network program. Yeah, so it's really interesting. But Christina actually died.
Yes, I did.
A few years ago.
My life is a testimony for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. Before we get into that, though, this might be somebody's first time watching the show. Where can they find us online?
YouTube.com/Into the Multiverse. Roku. We are on the Skywatch TV channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you're on YouTube. And also, we have an app on our smartphones now. It's Skywatch TV, so you can just go to your Google or Apple phone store and type in Skywatch TV, and then you'll have access to all of our shows.
Yes, and make sure when you do subscribe on YouTube that you click the little bell next to the notifications thing, so you'll know when we upload these. We usually upload them once a week. Usually it's Thursday mornings at 9:30, around there. Usually, I think I schedule them out to be 9 o'clock now. So every Thursday at 9 a.m., you'll get a new episode of Into the Multiverse. So we do that. But YouTube changed a bunch of stuff, and now you actually have to click a bell, and you got to do things so you can know stuff. And wish they wouldn't have done that. But anyway, yeah. So this whole, I guess, just tell the story. How old were you? What happened?
14.
Done.
Done.
Hope you enjoyed this episode.
It was December 28th. I was 14 years old. It was 3 days after Christmas, obviously, December 28th. I was at a friend's house, and we were doing our gift exchange. Okay. And then we all decided that we were going to go to the mall because we had some money, and we wanted to buy some gifts or buy stuff for us with the money that was a gift. And so we did. And then we stopped at a Myers. If you're in Michigan or Ohio, you know what a Meijer is. If you're not, then you don't. It's like a Walmart or it's a supermarket.
It's a department, like a big department store.
And so we got some snacks and stuff because she was going to come to my house and she was going to stay the night. And so we were with her sister's boyfriend, and her brother. And we all got in this little neon. And we were driving back to my house. He was going to drop her off. And so my parents didn't have to come all the way to Lapeer, Michigan to pick me up. So we went back we're almost to my house. We're 3 miles away from my house. This house is M15. And Hill Road. Hill Road was part of the road that would be going back to her house. But we were coming from Flint, so we came from the Davison area. And it was freezing rain. And so, as you know, freezing rain, once it hits the ground or something, it freezes instantly.
And we got a lot of that in Michigan. That's where this was. It was Michigan.
It was in Michigan. And then I remember feeling the car slow down suddenly. And I look over. It looked like what a car was backing out of their driveway, but it wasn't. It was a car being pushed into our lane. Come to find out later. And then we were hit head on, and we were also broadsided by a drunk driver. We were in a Neon, and there was a Durango and a Mazda truck involved.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to get the jaws of life to get us out.
Wow.
Some of us on the driver's side. The other side, there was a snowbank.
Where were you sitting?
I was behind the driver.
Okay.
And what had happened is I get some questions about my little deal here, my scar.
Mm-hmm.
My head had gone through the window. Freak thing happened, though. The seatbelt broke. Something that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It broke. But they said later on that if it were to do its job and hold me in place, I would have been decapitated.
Wow. Wow.
And the way the force, everything happened, my shoes flew off. One was under the driver's seat. One was under the passenger seat. And I have a permanent bruise back here. It looks fresh,
Yeah.
but it's from a hubcap that came forward and it hit me right across the shoulder blades. And my bone is bruised on my shoulder here.
Yeah, sometimes when we go out, we get looks. I get looks. Yeah, like,
Nope.
what is he doing?
It's 17 years old. It still looks fresh. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But then, I remember when we were hit. I remember I was looking around. I was not alive anymore. I saw things kind of like in shadow.
Did you know that you had died?
I knew something was up. I knew it was not. I wasn't in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
so
Did you know that you had been in a crash,
Yes,
or were you still kind of?
I knew that I knew exactly what had happened, and I was looking at everybody in the car, mainly the front seat. And my friend's sister was there, and I heard her crying, and I heard her like trying to get somebody's attention to help her boyfriend who was driving, and I remember looking around. I saw this beautiful bright light. And when I came back, I thought, oh, maybe it's just the cars, because it was just lined up on the road.
Was this during the day or at night?
It was at night.
Okay.
It was at night. And December days are very short.
Yeah.
Up in Michigan.
So you saw a light. Was it? Did it look like it was coming from somewhere, or was it just kind of all around?
It was kind of like a little bit of both. It was just kind of like off in the corner, but it was just engulfing everything.
Okay.
I felt at peace. And then it only seemed like a few seconds, but I was actually gone for an hour. I was pronounced dead on scene. And I remember coming back, and it just sounded like a big vacuum suction, just. And I remember I was being pulled back into something, and then I just kind of. Now, when I was experiencing this, I was sitting straight up. When I came to, I was leaning in an awkward position and looking up. And then there was a paramedic there, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're alive?" And he started putting something on my head, and he was cleaning up like the blood and everything. And I didn't know how bad it was. I just kind of moved my tongue around my mouth, and I felt glass, and I felt everything, just a hot mess in there for one, and I remember looking at looking towards the front seat. I couldn't really move. My neck was broken. And I just kind of remember hearing them ask me questions, and I was trying to think of things. I was like, wow, okay, I know I just had an experience. What happened? I was in a car accident. I know that. And then I'm thinking this in my head. I'm like, okay, what's my name? I know what my name is. Who am I with? I think I know these people. And it's just, and then it was all kind of coming back to me that, okay, I know who I'm with. Okay, I know where we were going. And then they started asking me questions. What's your name? I thought I told them loud and clear what my name was. And they're like, what? What's your name? Can you hear me? And I told them again, or I thought I did. My friend's like, her name is Christina. And they asked, what's her phone number? What's your phone number? Can you hear me? And I told them what my phone number was. Again, I thought I did. my friend had to tell them what my phone number was. They tried to get a hold of my house. This is back in the days of dial-up internet. So my line was busy because everybody was online. And then when my mom and dad were out somewhere, they came back. They thought that, because we should have been home by this time. And they came back from an opposite direction, a Clarkston, Nortonville direction. And they shortly before they walked in the door, somebody got a hold of my brothers and my sister, and they told them what had happened. And I remember one of my brothers said that he was sleeping, but he heard accident, and he just was on his feet.
Yeah.
Getting dressed. And I remember, because I was in and out, I don't remember so much of when my parents got there, but I remember hearing my dad's voice. And I could get out the word dad. And all I said after that is, my back really hurts. And then I remember my mom was with me in the ambulance on the way to Hurley Hospital. There, they didn't know I was going to make it through the night or not. We were all in the ER together. I was in and out, and then I remember slipping into a coma. I didn't know I was in a coma because my sister came in and she was talking to me. I remember exactly what she said to me. And she was crying, and I said, well, wait until I show you, what my friend gave me. It's a beautiful box. It's like a jewelry box, keepsake box, has a picture of a unicorn on it. And she was still crying, and she's still talking about my cat that is mad. I was my cat's person. She adopted me and was not leaving my room and would not let anybody go into my room, like standing guard. And I was like, oh, tell Precious I'll be home. It's okay. I was in a coma for about...
So you thought you were talking to your sister, but you weren't.
I wasn't. No,
wow.
I was in a coma.
But you could still hear everything that she was saying.
Everything she was saying. And when she came back after I was out of the coma, she was like, oh, so how are you doing? And I said, oh, good. How's Precious? Is she still mad at me? She's like, well, how do you know Precious is mad at you? Well, because we talked about this. No, we didn't. I told you those things, but you weren't talking. You were in a coma.
Wow.
And I do remember they thought they were going to have to go in and do brain surgery because I had a closed head injury. And I suffered a lot of things, and there's some things that I will have to suffer through for the rest of my life because of it. But and also between the third and fourth vertebrae, it was severed. I had a broken neck, and But there was one night before they were going to prep me for surgery and everything. They were getting everything together. My mom was... Before
we get into that, and this you're gonna want to stick through the commercial for this, because this is probably the most powerful part of this story, is how the real healing process began. And keep in mind, she was dead for an hour. So by all...
I should be brain dead.
Yeah, by all accounts, I mean, you should have been gone, just gone. So stay with us right after this.
Coming exclusively from Skywatch TV. When you purchase the 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative from SkywatchTV.com, you'll receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. An unprecedented value of over $400 in free books, DVDs, audio files, and the data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative, which includes 56 Christian classic works on PDF. All 28 episodes in Dr. Michael Lake's Understanding the Kingdom audio series. The latest version of Eastward for Windows. The 3-part Into the Multiverse television series where Josh Peck interviews Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative. And nearly 3 hours of bonus interviews on video with Dr. Lake on the Sharpening Report. For your library or to give away as gifts, Also included in this biggest giveaway in Skywatch TV history are Josh Peck's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, The Quantum Future and Extra Dimensional UFOs. Dr. Michael Lake's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, Jericho, The Anatomy of a Stronghold, and The Shinar Directive. The 5-part Skywatch TV special investigative report on the books, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and The Sheerith Imperative. But that's not all. You'll also receive the best of Skywatch television on DVD, over 5.5 hours of the most popular episodes in Skywatch TV history. Travel through the multiverse on the best of Into the Multiverse on DVD. Over 5 hours of audio with Josh Peck on the coming Technocalypse. The best-selling book, The Final Roman Emperor. An incredible 5-year subscription to the Skywatch magazine. 2 brand new free gift books. And the data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on The Sheerith Imperative. For your library or to give away as gifts. An unprecedented value of over $400 in free products. This is the biggest giveaway in Skywatch TV history, and it's yours absolutely free when you purchase the 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and The Sheerith Imperative for only $39.95 plus shipping from SkywatchTV.com for the unprecedented value of over $400 while supplies last. For more details, log on to SkywatchTV.com.
Welcome back to Into the Multiverse. I don't want to waste any more time. Get right back to the story. Okay, so you're in the ER, and you were dead for an hour, but you came back, and they're thinking that they might have to do brain surgery.
Yes, because there was a lot of pressure that builds up. Anybody who is, a lot of bruising and there was nothing to release that pressure. And again, they didn't know if I was going to make it through the night. And I'm in and out of a coma. My mom stayed with me for 3 days. And that one of the nights they were going to prep me, when they realized, okay, I'm making it, that she was praying and said, I am going to love her for the rest of my life. But who is going to watch over her when I'm gone? And she felt something just say, okay, I'm here to do my work now. She said there was like a piece that went into that hospital room, almost like a soft glow that covered me from head to toe. And she said the monitors changed. Everything, my brain waves, heart monitor, everything. And everything was corrected. She said the next day, they came in, and this nurse came in and said, a miracle happened in here last night. I didn't have to have brain surgery. My neck was not broken anymore.
Wow.
I did have to learn how to walk. I did walk out of that hospital 5 days after it happened. I didn't walk very well.
Right.
I walked as if I had a stroke. My whole right side just kind of dragged. And I did have trouble walking and reading and writing again. Something that I had to learn how to do all over. But at the same time, during that healing process of everything, both my hemispheres of my brain were healing, so they were both firing off at the same time. So I was coming up with some pretty interesting things. But I was in ICU. Intensive care unit, for those who don't know what that means, for 3 days. Then they moved me to step down when I was more awake. And that's when I talked to my sister. And I said, is Precious still mad at me? And she's like, how do you know about that? That whole story.
Right.
I remember that's when I started getting more visitors, and that's when I was able to talk coherently. My mom said, okay, it's been 3 days. I'm going home for a night.
Yeah.
And I remember as they were moving me, I said, Mom, and she said, yes, honey. I'm like, I love you. It was the first words I spoke since coming fully out of my coma. And the nurses were all crying, and then I was in step down for a day, and then they moved me down to a room after that. for one more night, and then I walked out of the hospital.
Wow. And even after all that, even after this miraculous healing, they still were telling you things like...
I was not supposed to have children. I was not supposed to be walking.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to walk right. You wouldn't be able to even feed yourself or do
paraplegic.
Yeah.
That's what I'm supposed to be, a paraplegic who would not be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm walking. I'm talking. We have 3 children.
Yeah.
And my mom often wondered, because as a child, as a little girl, I had lots of dreams about heaven and other realms like that. You know, God showed me this beautiful. He showed me creation. Ever since I was a little girl. And she often wondered, you know, after the accident happened, she's like, I wonder if that was God preparing her that she was going to die at a young age. Well, I did, but I didn't stay dead.
Right.
I think it was just, I've always been interested in creation and everything about it. And the Book of Revelation was always definitely one of my favorites.
Mine too.
But talking about the city and things like that. So it brought peace to me, those dreams. But that's my story. That's my testimony, and this little thing right here
That's where the
reminds
scar
me.
comes from.
That's there to remind me, and it's a lot of people have asked about it. My day-to-day life before Skywatch, even.
Yeah.
You know, asked me about it, and I'd tell them. You know, back when I was a manager at McDonald's, some of the crew would ask, "Oh, so what happened? Do you mind me asking what happened?" And I'd tell them my story.
Yeah. And it is a really powerful testimony. And so what was the whole healing process like? I mean, you got miraculously healed, but that you still had some work that you had to do.
There was work that had been done.
What was it discouraging that even after all that, the doctors were still saying, which I'm sure they weren't being mean about it, they're just trying to do their jobs, but
don't get your hopes up, girl.
Was that kind of discouraging, and then after that, what was the healing process like?
To a point, because they didn't know where to put me. Like I said, I was coming up with some pretty interesting ideas because both hemispheres were working at the same time. And so they didn't, when I went back to school, when I tried to go back to school, they didn't know where to put me. I was too advanced in some areas, but I wasn't comfortable enough in a normal classroom setting. And to concentrate, to be around with all those people, closed head injury, those of you with a closed head injury who have had one know what I'm talking about. It's hard. It's hard to focus when there's other people around you. And things happen, like you get anxiety. You don't want to be around anybody. And so they didn't know where to put me. I was too advanced for a special ed class. Right. You know, but not quite functional enough to be in a normal classroom because of that. So it was discouraging that they told me, okay, you probably shouldn't be in school. Probably should not do it. And my sister, being a teacher, created a curriculum for me so I could learn how to do everything again without feeling stupid.
So you did like homeschooling?
And then I ended up graduating 6 months earlier than my class. So that was pretty awesome. But the healing process was very odd because I could not think of normal words, like easy words. I started speaking in this dictionary language, the words I've never even used before, but were coming into my mind. Like I was spooked because my cat walked into the room, and it was the oddest thing. I was like, oh man, and instead of saying Precious was really sneaky, I was like, she was being inconspicuous.
Oh wow.
And my sister's like, you mean she was stealthy? She was sneaky? Yeah, whatever. You know, so I started using words like that, inconspicuous and other words you don't usually use in everyday. I became a little pretentious.
Right.
just for a moment, and I became like almost a genius for a little while. Like I'm not saying I'm super smart or anything.
I'll say it. You are.
But my IQ, I'm above average. But it went even higher. So and due to the healing process, it became a little bit more closed off. A lot of people in situations with closed head injury, it happens. But I became more closed off, and I just didn't feel the need for social interacting. I did not eat for 3 months. That's another thing. I did not eat. I did not feel hungry. With trauma, it can go one way or the other. Either you stop eating altogether, or you don't feel full. I continuously felt full.
So for those 3 months, was it really hard to keep anything down? Or?
I felt like if I were to eat it, it would make me sick. I went down to 85 pounds.
Ooh.
I was 5'9" at age 14, and it activated that trauma activated my growth hormone. Again, I grew another 2 inches over the course of a couple years after that. So instead of stopping at 5'9", I'm 5'11" now. And I remember my mom would sit me down at the dinner table and say, okay, you're 14, you're going to take 14 bites. So I would choke it down, and I'd just go back upstairs in my room, close myself off from everybody. I went into a depression. There was a depression there with the healing process. And then I remember there was somebody visiting, an old family friend. And then we were all going to go out to dinner. And it was the first time we were all going to go out. And we were going to one of my favorite restaurants that I loved before the accident. It's called Lucky Steakhouse. It was in Davis, in Michigan. And I remember saying, they asked me if I wanted to go. I was like, oh, yes, I'm starving. And all of a sudden, everybody just kind of stopped and looked at me. And to me, it didn't even faze me. What's the big deal? I'm hungry. She's like, you haven't eaten in 3 months, and you're finally hungry. And so it was a slow process to get me back up to a healthier weight of 120 pounds. But I learned how to walk right again. I learned how to write again. I remember looking at pictures. I was frustrated because my memory wasn't there. I don't remember where most of those pictures were taken. And that was one of the most frustrating things, was I could not remember. I went back to school eventually, and for my freshman year. And it was kind of hard because I hardly remembered anybody.
Wow.
There were some things changed, like personality can change with closed head injuries and looking around, and I didn't really know anybody.
Wow, that must have been tough.
It was.
And it was probably tough on them, too.
It was.
Well, praise God, you are okay, and you came out of all of that. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but
well.
yeah. But thank you for sharing all that. And the most important takeaway from all of this is that you really learned to rely on Jesus.
I did.
And he brought you through a lot. And so that's the main takeaway. And I want to thank all of you at home for joining us yet again into the Multiverse. Until next time, take care and God bless.